Welcome, everybody, to the Monthly Movie Dispatch. We get together every month and we talk about what movies we've seen, what we recommend, and what to avoid. What separates us from the other 100,000 movie-related shows is that we're high school friends, and we've been discussing movies for 15 years. We love film, and we'll be talking about it even if no one's listening. So I'm here. I'm Nick Moffat. We've got Brandon Bowlby.
Hello.
Sean Bowlby.
Hey.
And Derek.
Hello.
How's it going, guys? You ready to talk about some movies?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we've got 4 movies to talk about today that came out around Christmas. We're basically going right into the end of the year here. I'm really excited about our schedule coming up. So just to give you everyone, the listeners, a quick heads up, we're doing this episode, and then we're going to do another episode of some of the big kind of critic movies that are coming out like right around now, and then we'll do our top 10. A lot of other shows are doing their top 10s right now, but you know, we're real people, and our movies, the critic movies, just aren't available yet. So we're doing our top 10. We want to be honest about it. We want to see the movies and make a real pick about what our top 10 of the year is. So our movie calendars, it's just slightly off. You know, it's not based on the year 2020. It's more the movie schedule 2020. So yeah, we're still in the 2020 year, even though we
don't really get screeners,
right now.
So.
Yeah, we're not critics. We're normies, I guess. But you know, critics didn't get screeners for Wonder Woman. Well, actually, a lot of people did get screeners for Wonder Woman. So what am I talking about? But either way, that's one of the movies that we're talking about today. That's actually going to be the first movie we talk about today. So let's just jump right into it, guys. We got a lot to say about these 4 movies. Because actually, one of our movies is actually more like 5 movies. Or 2 movies. We'll get to that one later. But so Wonder Woman's first. Derek, that was your pick for this episode. Do you want to jump us off with Wonder Woman?
Yes. So the plot synopsis is: a new era of wonder begins. Wonder Woman comes into conflict with the Soviet Union during Cold War in the 1980s and finds a formidable foe by the name of the Cheetah. So I was a really big fan of the first Wonder Woman. I thought it was really good and really surprising how good it was. Like, it's one of my favorite. It's up there in the upper echelon of superhero movies for me. Yeah, so I was really excited for this one. Patty Jenkins returns as the director. Gal Gadot, obviously, Wonder Woman, and Chris Pine's back. What I liked, this movie's getting like a lot of crap. Like, people are really shitting on it a lot. But I thought overall I really enjoyed the movie from start to finish. I had a lot of fun. I didn't find many lulls in it. I know a lot of people were talking about it was like just a really boring movie altogether, but I thought it was really charming. I liked the look and feel of it. It was like a complete reversal from the first movie, which is like a gray war movie, and this one was like the opposite. It was like super, super vibrant, colorful, 1980s, like it very much fit in like that tone of 1980s, like comic books, where it's like really a lot of cheese and a lot of just like, heroic acts just for the sake of, showing a hero being heroic, and which is something the DC movies lack, because for some reason they don't like to show their heroes being heroic. So I like that a lot. And
I would even go as far as to say that Marvel suffers from that as well.
Yeah,
I think like Wonder Woman is kind of the first one did it as well, but this one especially, it really focused on pretty much every action scene focused on her protecting people. And,
right.
Really focused on
I think they
people.
made a conscious choice of that after BVS.
Yeah.
And like, I feel like it was around that time where, like 2016, where there were a bunch of movies coming out where the heroes weren't being heroic.
Yeah.
And like the whole industry kind of took a shift and tried to make the heroes
even
be
Man
more
of Steel, like when Superman was like blowing up all the buildings and
killing thousands of people. Yeah. But Yeah, so I liked all that about it. I mean, the movie's not without issues. Like it's a really bland story. Like there's just not a lot there. It's kind of a MacGuffin like chase, you know. But I think that the four leads, especially Kristen Wiig and Pedro Pascal, I thought like they're just so charming and charismatic. Like I just loved every scene they were in, and it was cool seeing Kristen Wiig like do something completely different than she's ever done before. And like I thought she was like she was really good, and I really bought her as the cheetah. And I don't know, I kind of maybe wish they took the ending fight scene in a little different direction with like the CGI. It wasn't terrible, but it just like
The cheetah fight scene?
yeah,
like
Yeah.
the full on
final
cheetah.
form.
That was a bit rough.
Do you think it would have been?
Yeah.
Do you think it would have been better on the big screen? That was kind of what I was like leaving.
It
thinking,
could have
like,
been.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was just.
I think the biggest problem with that fight scene for me was that I agree. The whole movie was very vibrant and colorful,
Yeah.
except for that
It's
scene.
just
Like that
gray.
scene was so
Everything was
gray.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There wasn't
And
really
it-
too much creative choreography in that scene. Like, they didn't really do much.
No,
throughout
I mean
that
for a climatic battle, like it kind of felt like on all fronts they kind of failed there.
And it also felt like it was off kind of doing its own thing, like unrelated to
Yeah,
a lot of
that's
other
true.
things that were going on.
Yeah, and it is like a great example of like their issues with the plot in this movie, because like I don't even fully understand what the the point of the armor and stuff was in this movie.
Yeah, it
Like
kind of
they
came
made
and
it
went.
seem like it was a big deal, but like
Yeah.
literally she puts it on, it immediately gets destroyed, and then we just move on.
Yeah, I
It's-
feel like there were
As
has
big of
no
a deal
relevance.
if it was, it saved her an extra 8 seconds of
Yeah.
time being alive.
Right.
I feel like there was a few of those kind of bizarre decisions. Like they made that decision, put it in the movie, shot it, and it just like, for what? What did that do? Like there was that one.
Yeah.
There was oh my god, I'm blanking. Oh yeah, the her magical invisibility powers just kind of showed up, came and went.
I mean, I think the
Steve
one
Rogers,
thing about those is that was a
taking
bit
over
more
someone's
of
body.
like a ref, like, you know, Marvel does it too, where they just put in little references to like the comic books and like
I marked out.
yeah, like she famously has like an invisible jet.
yeah.
I
I
marked
mean,
out
I'm aware
really
of
hard
that,
at the
but-
invisible jet. I was like, I thought that was pretty cool. I mean, I don't know, like it was really cheesy. It was really cheesy, but it would have only worked.
I mean,
in this
it
movie,
did
in my
make me
opinion,
laugh.
you know,
That
like
scene did make me laugh. Where she's like, I tried it on a coffee cup once, and he's
The
like,
bigger
"What happened?
one
I
you were
couldn't
trying to
find
think
it
of,
or
Sean,
something."
is her flying. And like, it's
Yeah,
so
yeah, her
obvious that they
flying.
should have used the flying like in the final cheetah fight sequence, but
Yeah.
like they didn't even, have it come back for any
Yeah.
kind of reason.
Was she flying? What do you guys think?
I don't know. Like I've heard like I always thought that she had like some sort of riding lightning thing. I thought that was like a Wonder Woman thing, but I don't really know because
Yeah,
like
it seemed
she
to be
keeps
connected to the
flying
whip
after the
somehow.
light.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't really
Yeah,
fully
I don't think
understand.
she was really flying. I think she was kind of like, she was like kind of
Yeah,
surfing
well,
over
I-
the clouds.
Yeah,
a
I
little
was
bit.
kind of on
I don't
the
know-
fence about it when I was watching. I thought first I was like, oh, okay, I guess she's just kind of falling with style, and then like there was a couple moments where I was like, okay, she's definitely flying here. But then afterwards, I saw some reviews, and it sounded like most people weren't thinking that she was flying.
Does she
It was-
fly?
She was just.
In
I know
general?
she
Is that a power of hers?
she does fly in the DCAU in Justice League, in Justice League Unlimited for DCAU.
Does
I don't,
she?
Yeah, she definitely does. But I think that's just mostly for story convenience and things like that. But I don't think she's ever, as far as my limited knowledge goes.
Right. Well,
I
none of
don't
us are like
think she's
experts
ever really
on
flying.
Wonder Woman. We're not experts
Yeah.
on it.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
But I did,
Here or there.
that didn't necessarily take me out of the movie or anything. I just kind of chalked that up to me not knowing enough about the character. I think I think like the movie just overall was just probably a little too big, too long, and it suffered from some plot devices and issues that just like kind of pull you out at certain times. Like there's the whole Chris Pine like occupying some guy's like body, like just a weird
decision.
It's such a weird thing because it's so.
But it like
None of
has
the other
no
powers work that
bearing.
way.
It has no bearing on the story, and like they so easily could have just not done that. Like,
well, and for a character that you place so much of her characters on her like values and like her like it's such a weird thing to be like, oh, but that she's okay with.
Yeah.
It's like, what? Well, just because of love.
The thing is though, like, I think the subtext of the movie though was that like she shouldn't have been okay with it,
right.
and she got wrapped up in it because of love, which
why,
I think is
why would they
a character
have
trait.
that be the subtext? It seems like so front and center. It should have been like, hey, I'm like occupying, he's like occupying this guy's body. This guy has a right to live too. That should be a part of her dilemma. Why would it be in the subtext?
Well, I mean, I don't know. But yeah, like there's just like Derek said, I think Derek makes a great point there that there was just too much going on in this movie. Like there was like 4 movies in this movie, whereas like if they had just chosen one of them and done it like really well, then you would have had like another classic here, like the first one. Like I rewatched the first one, and I mean the first one kind of has the same thing going on a little bit, but not really, because in the first one it's like she thinks that the God of War is is destroying everything, but really it's World War I. But then the trick though is that it really was the God of War is there, and she has to fight the big bad at the end. In this one, it's like there are 4 different movies that are happening. There's Cheetah, there's whatever the MacGuffin is with Pedro Pascal, and then there's the romance, and there's a lot going on in this movie. So the whole thing with the MacGuffin and him turning into Chris Pine turning into some other guy's body is very strange. But I think like the point is that everything that people wished for was incorrect, and was a poor choice, and she got wrapped up in it. But she did make the right choice halfway through. But
I'll say I went into this movie fairly excited for a fun big action movie, but I had also like seen how the reviews of this movie kind of tanked after those first initial positive reviews, so I was a little kind of weary going into it. But I'll say like me and Kelly were watching it, and like halfway through the movie we paused it, and I went to the bathroom or something, and we came back. I'm like, she goes, I'm actually really liking this movie. And I was like, me too. It's so much fun. Like that first half of this movie is just a ton of fun. And like the action scenes in that first half are really awesome. And like, it's just like Kristen Wiig is really fun and funny. And yeah, Steve Rogers is really good. And I even think like Gal Gadot is actually better in this movie than she was in the first one. I thought,
She's really
good. Gal Gadot is amazing. Yeah. She's like transcendent in this.
I thought
role.
she like really inhabited Wonder Woman in this movie, whereas like the first one she was a little
for real,
maybe a little clunky, but But in the end, I guess like ultimately, I don't know if I would actually recommend this movie to anyone. Like if someone like sees it and really enjoys it, I'd be right on board with them for that. But I don't know if I could actually give my stamp of approval on the movie as a whole.
Yeah, I mean, I hear you. And I mean, like, I think I generally agree. I mean, I was pretty much sold on having a good time with this movie after that first opening fight in the mall.
Me too.
That scene was that is so awesome and silly. Like, it was so silly. And I was, like, I love how comic book movies have evolved and they're all like really, serious now. And, there's a lot of, great stuff with, you guys know me.
Logan,
like I love
Endgame.
comic book movies.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I also think there is a place for very, very, very silly comic book movies. I mean, the comic books are generally pretty silly. I mean, these guys are just dressed in tights, jumping over buildings and stuff. And that opening scene to me really, really caught that
and even like
80s silliness.
To Patty Jenkins' credit, like those first two shots of Wonder Woman, there's like a shot, there's like the car barreling down the street, and then just kind of out of nowhere, a foot like comes and kicks the car, and then it like spins or comes to a stop, and then she just kind of whooshes right in front of the camera. And it was just those two really effective shots that I was like, okay, I know exactly what this movie is. I'm totally on board for it. And I think she delivered really well for a lot of the movie.
I think it kind of, I agree though, Sean. I think it kind of lost its way a little bit. And, I don't know, like, I'm probably not going to buy this movie on Blu-ray, and I don't think it's going to take me a while to rewatch it. I think if I do rewatch it, it'll be like just to be in awe of Gal Gadot and like also Pedro Pascal. And like, I just kind of want to enjoy the performances. But, I don't think that like it was a great movie, but I definitely had a lot of fun with it. Cue Brandon and his frowny face.
Oh, God.
The movie is, to me, it's pretty like fine and watchable, and there's good and okay stuff. Like, I totally agree with you, Sean, up until they get on the plane in the back of the museum. Like, up until they go to Egypt to MacGuffin, as Derek said, the rest of the movie. It just instantly like gets really rough. Like very quickly. One thing you guys haven't mentioned that I really liked is Pedro Pascal. His acting and performance is awesome in this movie, and he's like so into it and so dedicated to that character. And I kind of also like just the storyline and who that character is. Like, I was pretty on board as a villain. Like, I thought he had a great build up for a good chunk of that first half too, and
like,
that
was my favorite part. Such a fake and like.
Yeah, he was such a
like,
fake
loser.
His like him trying to like swindle all those like rich guys into like giving him business. And I also liked what his power was. It was kind of interesting that like it would actually affect the real world and like grant their wishes, but like in real ways that were actually like within, I don't know, the context of reality. It wasn't like literally a magic genie coming in. It was like cops would come in and then arrest the person for fraud, and things like that. That was clever.
It's kind of playing with fate or something.
Yeah, with fate, exactly. But yeah, it takes a hard turn when they go to Cairo, like hard turn. And when I was watching that first action sequence of the second half, like I was just kind of blown away at how much they dropped the bomb on like choreography and just showing you anything interesting or creative. And I think a big disappointment is, you mentioned it, Derek, is really what Gal Gadot goes through in the second half of the movie. It is just this like weird chase where she doesn't really think of anything or learn anything, or like she just follows him. She goes to Egypt, runs into him on the highway. She goes to the White House, runs into him in the lobby, and then goes to the mountain and runs into him there. Like, there's kind of no like discovery for why or how she's like learning new things or moving along in this adventure. She just kind of like appears in each location as he moves to each location. And it just didn't really make for an exciting like chase, because it was just the most straightforward a chase could possibly be. And that was most of the second half of the movie. And then mixed with the cat fight sequence was another letdown. But
Right. Yeah, the action definitely was subpar for Wonder Woman for the first one. Although there were some fun, a handful of fun sequences.
Like, I think it seems like everything's kind of there for a movie that would work, but they just kind of don't. Like, the MacGuffin chase is fine, like especially in a superhero movie. Like, Infinity War's awesome. That's all that movie is. It's just they're chasing MacGuffins the whole movie, and so like. It's just it's like you got to nail that like you said, like the character arc, which is there also. I just think they just so lightly touch on it that it just doesn't quite work. Like that scene when she does give up you know, spoilers. I don't know if we're worried about spoilers, but like, you know, when she takes back her wish, like I thought that was like a good. It was well done.
Yeah,
like that. Scene
I got a
was
little
great.
choked up in that scene.
Yeah,
for sure.
And like her
was
acting,
great.
like it was just great. But it just doesn't like that. That feeling didn't really carry on to the.
It was like a little early too,
like,
a little too early for the movie as well. Like,
yeah,
should have
That should have been the climax or something, right? Like that should have been
Built
like
up to the
the
climax.
big moment or something. Yeah. I think, I think a big problem with this movie that you guys haven't mentioned is how inconsistent the powers were. You know, I mean, Brandon,
that, yeah.
I agree that it was cool that they incorporated real life stuff into it, but like there wasn't really like a frame of what he could do.
All of a sudden,
you know, it was
the
like
world's like in ruins, and it didn't really show the development very creatively, like or the scenarios
Yeah,
people were
and-
getting themselves into.
I mean, it was pretty interesting how like everyone made their wish, then the world falls apart. Like that is kind of a interesting concept, but like it just there could have been more like table setting.
for example,
you know, and-
Nick, like at the end when everyone's doing their wish and he's like taking something from it, and then he like gets like force powers.
Yeah,
So he
and
should like,
it's
isn't he? You're supposed to be taking something for the entire rest of the movie. He's taking something that someone else has, except for in that part, he's like taking force powers from people, and that was a strange.
It's like Dragon Ball Z when he does the spirit bomb. He's just taking the spirit from people, and
Yeah,
that
I mean,
turns into
but that's
physical
not-
energy. I'm just
Right,
joking.
that
I'm
kind of-
totally
That's-
joking. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
is
yeah.
that but just. Yeah, the movie, again, I think it comes back around to it was just trying to do too much. Where, like, they could have taken... You know, Derek's right. I agree with Derek that the movie has... everything's there. It's just, like, convoluted because they're trying to do, like,
Yeah.
4 stories
And
at
if-
the same time.
If we're not running out of too much running out of time right now, the themes, like just bringing up the themes, like they were so muddled as well. Like from that opening, like action, like the race sequence that she
Maybe not
did
muddled,
as a
maybe
kid.
too explicit.
Well, like when she says it, it's a little too explicit. But like, there's several different themes that they like kind of briefly touch on, and that don't really kind of culminate in the end. And it's like all this stuff about truth, and truth is, I don't know, like from that opening sequence, like when
that what she says?
Robin
Is that the
Wright
line?
like grabs her after the race, and she's like, "No, it's truth is too important." Or, I don't even.
It's a very
remember what she
weird
says,
speech
but, like,
she
yeah, it was
suddenly
really
gives her daughter. in
really
the moment.
strange. And so yeah, just I guess I don't want to get too into it at this point, but like the themes were like all over the place, didn't really come together. But yeah, didn't really tie into the story that was going on.
That actually seems like it's kind of a normal superhero movie sequel. It's like that tends to happen
Yeah,
on the
it's-
second
it
movie.
seems like that's what people are
yeah.
saying.
Spider-Man 3,
Yeah.
X-Men, first
Batman,
class, The Last Stand,
Batman Returns.
The Dark Knight Rises.
We need more.
Batman
We
Returns
need
is
more.
pretty awesome. But
It's pretty well.
actually, this actually was pretty similar to me with Batman Returns, just with how crazy the 2 bad guys were. Like both of them were kind of similar characters with Batman Returns. I don't know. Maybe it was just me watching.
Yeah.
it where
Honestly,
was
I
like,
haven't
this movie-
I haven't seen Batman Returns, but I've seen several reviews where people talk about like how similar even Kristen Wiig's character arc is to Catwoman's.
Very similar. Very similar.
Yeah,
But
that
you've never
that's
seen
like
Batman
the trope.
Returns?
No, I haven't.
Okay, next time I win one of our
Hey
contests.
guys,
All right.
Just kidding.
Aquaman or Wonder Woman 2?
Aquaman.
Yeah, Aquaman.
Aquaman.
Haven't seen it.
Aquaman does the cheese better. I think.
Yeah.
They sell it way better.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I don't know though. I might be more inclined to watch Wonder Woman 84 again. Actually, honestly, I don't know. I just like Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman that much.
I can't wait to
So,
see her
I-
emerge into the film industry soon. I hope.
Mm-hmm.
She's been doing
Gal
Wonder
Gadot?
Woman 1, Justice League, Wonder Woman 2.
She was
She's been in a
in-
handful of movies here and there.
she was
like,
Fast and Furious lead for a little while.
Oh, that was a while. Okay. All right.
She's been in a few other like action comedies too. But I do think that we should move on.
Yeah.
We could sit here and bitch a little bit while longer, but we should just move on to the next movie. Anyway, that's Wonder Woman 84. We all watched it on HBO Max, part of HBO's new thing where they are showing Warner Brothers movies same time as they're released in theaters. But by the time this airs, it won't be on HBO Max anymore because I think they're only doing it for 30. Yeah, they're only doing them for 30 days.
I didn't know that.
So,
that's I was going to say that's the
thing.
one reason I would recommend this movie because it's like if you have HBO, like it's a free blockbuster. You can just watch at home.
Yeah,
it's like,
that's actually part. I was encouraging people to watch it for the same reason. I was like, "Come on, watch it, HBO. It's just on HBO." And is it really worth my time? Well, if you're asking that question, then maybe it isn't. But okay. So we're gonna move on to my movie pick for the month, and that was the new Pixar movie Soul. Real quick, I'm gonna read the plot summary from Letterboxd, and whoa, geez. It's kind of long. Okay, going for it. Joe Gardner is a middle school teacher with a love for jazz music. After a successful gig at the Half Note Club, he suddenly gets into an accident that separates his soul from his body and is transported to the U Seminar, a center in which souls develop and gain passions before being transported to a newborn child. Joe must enlist help from the other souls in training, like 22, a soul who has spent cons in the U Seminar in order to get back to Earth. I think I picked the wrong plot summary, guys. That was pretty long and wordy. But basically, I mean, we've seen it. The movie is like Joe dies like pretty quick early on in the movie. He gets a gig at a club, and then on his way home he dies, and then on his way to the afterlife he kind of swindles his way into another part of the great beyond where souls are getting ready to go to Earth, and he works with another soul who doesn't want to go to Earth to get to Earth. But the whole thing with the movie is 22, the soul that he's kind of trying to help get him back to his body, she doesn't have a spark for life, so the whole idea with the movie is that in the pre-life or whatever, you need to have a spark to get you inspired, and then that's like your ticket to go onto Earth and presumably like enjoy that spark or whatever. And as the movie goes along, it has a lot of themes about like purpose and why people like the things that they like, and the finding enjoyment out of life as well. And I don't know, guys. I thought this movie was pretty great. It was one of those Pixar movies. There's like Pixar is the best. Pixar is like the best studio, animation studio, and you know how they do it. There's different kinds of Pixar movies. There's like the lower level Pixar movies like Cars or A Good Dinosaur. There's their big franchises that have a lot of heart like Toy Story or Finding Nemo, and then there's like their like more surreal, like deep thought movies like Inside Out, and this one Soul. WALL-E too.
Coco, Ratatouille.
Yeah, and so with this one, I think the plot of this one is most similar to Inside Out because it's straight up like Inside Out. The characters are emotions, where this one, the 22 is straight up like a spirit. So, and then the concept of this movie is playing a lot with the afterlife and the pre-life and all of that, and I thought this movie was pretty great, and it made me think a lot, and I feel like there were a lot of things. The themes of this movie were like echoing out around my life at the same time this movie came out. It just kept coming up, the themes from this movie, and that was really cool to think about. There's this concept in the movie where they call it the zone, and it's the concept of when you're like really into something, like if you're playing music or doing something that inspires you, and you kind of lose yourself, and then you're in the zone. And they have the zone as like a literal thing that spirits go to, and it's like a perfect example of animation, like the power that animation has to capture and create like a concept like that. Yeah, I mean, I thought that was just brilliant. I thought that the story was really good, but maybe not like as great as it could have been. You know, I don't even really truly know what it was, but it didn't make me cry. You know, and that's one of the things, I don't know, with Pixar movies where like, I don't know, if it doesn't make me cry, then
that's to Pixar's credit.
Yeah, I don't know, just one of those things where, yeah, like it didn't make me cry, and so I just feel like there was a little bit. I feel like the themes sometimes didn't fully connect with the plot of the movie. Like the plot was going along, but maybe it was the fact that I just didn't really get to know Pete that well.
Maybe it was the talking cat.
But talking cat.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he wasn't talking. He turned into a talking cat at some point. Yes, but Joe. I'm sorry, Joe. I don't know why I said Pete.
Doctor
directed it. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, what did you guys think? I'll open it up to you guys. But do you agree with what I'm talking about? That the plot didn't fully connect with the themes? Did the themes hit you guys as hard as they hit me? What say you?
Yeah, I mean, I thought I didn't really have any qualms with the plot at all. It's actually like they do a similar like trick in this movie that they've done in other movies before, and it hasn't worked as well. I don't know, like we're spoiler the talking cat thing. Like they've done that. They've literally done that almost the same thing in a different movie, and it did not work for me at all. Brave is what I'm talking about. And
right.
like in this movie, I thought like that whole like part of the story, which ends up being a pretty big chunk of the movie, worked really well. And
speaking of talking cat,
yeah, and like I thought that whole story, like I really thought it was going to be more like Inside Out, where it all takes place in like that afterlife, you know, the soul world. And so that like, well, first of all, I love like Pixar's animation's incredible. And
Yeah.
in doing like the real world stuff, which there's so much of it in this movie, was like the coolest. I loved seeing that in like Inside Out, when you get to see like some of San Francisco. You're like, oh, that's so cool. Like, because they're just, animation is just so unique and so awesome. And this movie like mostly takes place in that world, so it's just constantly like visual amazingness everywhere you look. And so getting to them finding a way to tell like that kind of a story and show off all that animation consistently throughout the movie was just like so exciting. It's so engaging. And I thought, I mean, I know like right after we finished it, I looked at Christina and I was like that wasn't a movie for kids really at all. Like it's just a like it's very much directed at adults. Not in like a edgy way, but in like, that's the story they wanted to tell, was a more serious story, you know, about
it's an adult like looking back at his life, and it's
right.
I mean, I'm sure kids can take lessons from that, but
and they find way.
I feel like kids aren't going to identify with what he's going through,
right? With this existential crisis that he's like trying to figure out. But you know, they do kind of the reverse thing that they do in most of their movies, where in this one they make it. Kids can still enjoy it because it's Pixar and they make good looking movies and fun movies, and you know, they're cute, and there's like, you know, Phoenix has like a soul like toy and stuff like that. And so it's like it's still accessible for children, is what I'm saying. And it's just kind of I don't think they've really done that to this extent before. And I just,
definitely,
that's kind of an accomplishment in its own, I think. Yeah.
I mean, I think we should say like what the existential concept, like crisis, really is, and that's like, if I died tomorrow.
Right.
You wrote that in the show notes, Derek.
Yeah.
If I died tomorrow, would I be like happy? You know, like would I be satisfied or whatever?
Yeah.
And that's like, that's that's something that adults think about or should think about or whatever.
Right.
Like
Or
should maybe live their life.
I mean, I would say just the idea of like the meaning of life and what is purpose? What is do you need purpose? Is that something that you need in order to live a happy life, or is that just something that we've made up? And
is eating a pizza and just enjoying it.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Maybe,
Pizza's pretty good.
Like enjoying life is kind of a purpose, and
but yeah, I mean, the themes really worked for me for this movie. I definitely kind of agree that the story was a little bit messy sometimes, especially when it, they kind of jump into that the talking cat stuff. I was pretty thrown by that decision, and but I got over it fairly quickly. But yeah, the themes just worked so well, and I have to give them credit for how they ended this movie. I'm not gonna say how they ended it, but like that ending shot and just like how the way that they go out in that moment is pretty brilliant, and honestly like shows so much maturity for the director, for the filmmakers and the studio, that they would be willing to do that. It's honestly like it's a pretty it's one of those things where you don't go out necessarily completing the story, but you complete the idea. Like you complete the essay that you are that you're writing, and that's how you go out on the movie.
It's a really mature ending for a Pixar film.
It was really impressive. And like for how mature this movie is, the visuals of like is obviously their most abstract movie visually, but like I was just constantly blown away by the creative ways that they show the afterlife, and like like expressionist
when he falls through the ground
cinema.
And Trent Reznor's score like comes up and that pulsating
was so
and
good,
so
I
creative.
didn't even know Trent Reznor did the score for this movie. That's amazing.
Yeah,
Reznor, Atticus Ross.
The animation design.
Wow.
They just like, I don't know, it just turns into the most like experimental shit for like several minutes straight. I couldn't believe they went for that. It's so cool.
Yeah,
Are you talking about when he falls through the
the grounds to go?
Yeah.
A lot of this movie could straight up just be in an art house cinema, like expressionist film.
A few scenes like that blew my mind was his like jazz scene when he's doing his tryout and he loses himself in that moment and the background fades away and all these beautiful colors come up on the screen. That was kind of the first time they stepped outside of like the bounds of reality, and that was just such a great way to show his passion and his solo in that moment. I think this is like one of the best directed Pixar movies for all those reasons. Like they're really not afraid to go out on a limb visually and stylistically. And I think the way it opens in such a conservative way until he falls down that drain pipe is like, it's such a straightforward, like interesting film on its own about this guy trying to be a musician. And from that moment with him in the class and teaching his students, like I was really impressed from the get-go.
Did you guys catch any similarities between this movie and the 40-year-old version? I was definitely like throughout this movie, I was kind of having, it was touching on similar ideas and themes and like,
I can see that.
about someone, an artist who's questioning their entire, what they've done with their life and
in their 40s kind of thing.
Being like both teachers.
Both teachers.
Instead of being like, being the thing that they want to be. Like they're both teaching instead, and the kids are maybe into it, maybe not into it. But man, I don't know, that whole thing was like pretty inspiring, where there was that one girl who got like super into it, and she entered the zone, before you really know what the zone is.
That was really cool.
All the other kids make fun of her, and he's like, no.
Yeah, and that explanation that he gives, that whole monologue in that scene was brilliant. It just sent chills down my spine. It was pretty so inspiring. Good.
Yeah.
You guys have touched on a few of the things that didn't work. I think one thing that a lot of Pixar movies do, and a big job of Pixar movies is just covering this up, is when they have to just go into straight up exposition of world building, because they need to establish so much in this movie, so much new stuff that they need to cover. And it takes them a long time to get to the cat, actual adventure of the film. And there's a good half hour before that where it's just they're just checking off boxes of things that are going to come up later. I think it was a little clunky, because it's just literally someone walking through and telling this person about everything that they need to know. And it's just one after another, and it just kept going on and on. And that kind of took me out of it for a little bit. I thought maybe Inside Out had the same responsibility and maybe did it a little smoother.
I feel like Inside Out did it a little better, throughout the story. When they did a much better job of holding off until they get to that part of the story, and then they explain it or convey what they need to visually, so that it all makes sense. But whereas this one was just kind of
all in one block.
Yeah, right. Definitely.
Well, the thing that this movie did creatively during the exposition was the spirit counselors, the Jerrys. Yeah.
That was pretty funny.
Just that concept was really funny to me. Yeah. I thought they were really funny. Then there was the accountant that was trying to track him down.
It was the Taika Waititi regular. She was the Grandmaster's right hand woman in Thor Ragnarok, and she was the cop in
the Social Security, not Social Security, the social services person in The Hunt for Older People.
Wow. Oh, okay, yeah. I know her.
But I thought that was so funny. That really got me. Yeah, and that's the thing about this movie, is that I think that the themes are extremely powerful, and I really meant to rewatch this movie. I just didn't get around to it because I think it's one of those movies that I think is going to go up in my taste over time, because I'm sure I'm going to rewatch it. I mean, I'm probably going to rewatch it before we do our top 10. And but even so, I think I'm just going to like this movie. I think it has legs for me and my taste. And I think that the thing about it is that the plot isn't just as strong as the themes are, because the themes are extremely strong. But first viewing, often I get stuck on the plot. I get the plot was okay, but then with the repeated viewings, you get further and further
smooths out
the
edges,
concepts, and
it's hard to be mad when there's so much to like as well.
Yeah. So I don't know. I really enjoyed this one. I thought this was great, and I think it's upper tier Pixar.
Yeah, for sure.
Not sure how high yet. Personally, I preferred Inside Out.
Has anyone put it on their Pixar list yet?
Oh, I haven't thought about it.
Been so bold.
I still think Coco for their new ones would be higher for me as well.
I think I liked it more than Inside Out.
Ooh.
But I think I liked it more than Coco.
I liked Inside Out less than most people too.
Yeah. I loved Inside Out. I mean, I think Inside Out should be taught at schools, honestly. So
I like how Sean and Nick are team Inside Out, and me and Derek have always been team Coco. And it just came out again right then.
I mean, even Coco.
I liked Coco. I liked Coco more than Sean.
Yeah, I kind of wasn't a huge fan of Coco.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when we saw Coco. We saw Coco together, Sean. I remember we left, and you were like, "Well, I didn't cry." So
actually, I probably didn't say. I may have cried during that movie. Did I say that?
During
that
one?
Scene, that Remember Me, when the boys
you better have cried.
Coco.
I'm pretty sure I cried. Or at least came very close to crying. I mean, that scene is so powerful. But overall, I think anyways. I think this is a better musician movie than Coco for sure.
Cool. Well, we can move on. That was Soul. It's available on Disney Plus, and it's going to stay on Disney Plus. It's not like Wonder Woman where it's going to disappear in a few days. Soul will stay on Disney Plus, and I'm assuming it's going to get like a physical release too. But yeah, it was. They chose to put it right onto Disney Plus.
You think
so
they're
that's
still going to try to put like movies like Soul in theaters once theaters open up? Or are they just? You think it's just skipping it, moving on?
I think they've moved on from Soul in theaters. Disney's pretty set. I mean, we could have a whole episode about like the state of movie theaters and stuff, right. But it's pretty interesting how Warner Brothers decided to put all their movies onto HBO Max, and there was a huge backlash on it, and then Disney like just was like, hey. We're still going to be in theaters, and we have an awesome slate. Yeah. And then they released like their slate of Marvel and Star Wars and all the other movies that are coming out. And it's like, yeah, Warner's kind of screwed. So, I miss going to the movies, guys.
Yeah. Me too.
Anyway, moving on. We have something pretty interesting for our final kind of thing. It's kind of hard to explain in terms of like what exactly this is, but I'm just going to set it up so that we could talk about it. So Small Axe is the final thing we're going to be talking about today, and that is the new project by Steve McQueen, who's famous for doing 12 Years a Slave, Shame, Hunger, bunch of other movies. Yeah, I mean, he won Best Picture, Best Director for 12 Years a Slave. So, I mean, he's like one of the best working directors right now. And Small Axe was a anthology series of movies. So he basically released a movie every week for 5 weeks in a row that went straight onto Amazon Prime. And not all of them are like full lengths. I think only one or two of them are actually like over 90 minutes.
I think only one is over 90 minutes. The rest are...
Two are over
like
120. One is over 2 hours.
Okay, so yeah, there's one that's over 2 hours. There's two that are just over 90 minutes, and then the others are like an hour or 70 minutes or something. So yeah. So, but they're all movies. Like they're all considered movies. If you go on Letterboxd, they all have their own pages and stuff. Different from miniseries that have. You go on Letterboxd and they have a miniseries that has its own entry. These are all individual movies, but they kind of revolve around the same theme. They're all stories that take place in London about people from the West Indies, or that the culture of those people that are in London, and they're all different sides of that experience. There's a story about the relationship with the cops. There's a court story. There's a big party that they have. They're all different angles of the same sort of like culture. That's what it's about. I wanted to say really quick that the reference of the title is from a proverb that Bob Marley made famous. If you are the big tree, we are the small axe. So it's kind of like about this culture that is trying to exist or kind of cut into the establishment that's kind of keeping them down. So with that, I don't know. I watched all 5 of them. I don't know if all of us did. Derek, I think you only watched the first 2.
Yeah.
Brandon, Sean, did you guys watch all 5?
Yeah, I watched all of them.
Okay, so do you guys want to do a rank off of the 5?
Yeah.
Brandon really is eager about this.
I'll start then.
Okay, you start.
Okay, so I'm going to go in reverse order. So I'm going to start with the worst.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Worst. None of these are bad. But I would say starting at the lowest would be Alex Wheatle. And then I'd go Education. And then I'd come back up to Red, White, and Blue. Then Mangrove. And then number 1 being Lover's Rock.
Drama.
Wow.
Next.
Wow. Sean, you want to go next?
Well, here's the thing.
Ooh, it's a go.
No. Yeah, I know. I just like I am apprehensive only because like this series is definitely greater than the sum of its parts. Like all these movies, it's not something where skip over the weaker ones and just and watch just the good,
Like
the better
Derek
ones. Well, no, I mean, hopefully Derek will continue on them, but like really this whole series is so fucking brilliant and is like a masterpiece, even though like the weaker ones probably aren't, still are like 4-star movies for me. But anyways, all I'm going to say is probably Education was the lowest. The next three, Red, White, and Blue, and what was the name one?
Alex Wheatle.
Alex Wheatle and Lover's Rock are probably tied for 3, or tied for 2, and then Mangrove is number 1.
See, Sean, I think I like, maybe not with your ranking, but I think I like pretty much like 100% agree with you. You know, I mean, in years past, I've been the guy who's like pretty strict, I guess, on like what is a movie. You know, I've been the guy who's like, I'm not going to put OJ Made in America in his top 10 because that's not a movie, even though that was played in movie theaters, and Mangrove or Small Axe was not as a collective played in movie theaters. You know, they did show like Mangrove and Lover's Rock in theaters, but I don't think that Small Axe as a complete picture was ever in theaters. Either way, I think I'm completely with you. Like the ranking is really hard, but it's almost like it's like pointless because like, I think the lowest for me was Alex Wheatle, and I think I gave that 3.5 stars. And the others are like 4, 4.5. Like I think Mangrove, I would also give it number 1 with 4.5. But like I watched Education last night and it like blew me away. Like it tied the whole thing together for me, and Alex Wheatle too, like that was Alex Wheatle was the 4th. And that one was like about one guy who like kind of, I mean, he didn't specifically go through all the movies, but he kind of like, his story kind of went through a lot of the things that the other movies were about. And it really like, it tied the whole thing together. And I mean, like, collectively it's like 5 stars
easy
for me.
Like I agree.
Yeah,
like I was 4.5, some 4s and a 3.5, but easily it's a 5-star series. I'm giving it totally on.
In a lot of ways it kind of reminded me of like the 5 seasons of The Wire and how it's like all tackling it from different angles, the subject matter and different parts of the city all coming together and how it affects the people in the city.
Yeah.
So I mean, if you're forcing me to rank it, I think I would do like, I think I would put Mangrove in 1. I mean, I think it's pretty easy to say Lover's Rock at number 2. Like Lover's Rock, I mean, we're gonna get into it, so we're gonna spend time talking about Mangrove and Lover's Rock. But I think like it's pretty easy to say Lover's Rock is number 2 just because it's so specific and great at what it's doing. But like in like Red, White, and Blue, it would probably be number 3. But like. Yeah, that would probably be number 3 for me, and then number 4 would be Education.
I will also say, like, me and Brandon watched Education first because it was just late one night. We were trying to figure out what to watch, and we just were like, this one's 60 minutes or so.
We didn't have 2 hours. It was too
we didn't have 2 hours, so we just watched that one because we thought, we'll just. It doesn't sound like it's too important, but I kind of regret that after watching Alex Wheatle, and like the way that story ends.
I felt the same way. I wanted one
I was
more.
like, ooh, yeah.
And the thing is, like, Education has like the ending.
Yeah.
The ending of Education is like
space.
Like I finished Education. Yeah, like I was like, this is the ending. Like this is everything. And I mean, I don't think it's like wrong to watch them out of order because they are all their own movies, but also I think it might be more powerful thematically. Yeah, if you watch them all in the same order.
Let's throw this to Derek real quick, just to wrap it.
Yeah, Derek.
My 2.
Yeah,
I liked Mangrove more by quite a bit, but
all right, I lose.
Yeah.
You're all Mangrovers. I'm Lover's Rocker.
Well, so let's jump into Mangrove. So, Sean, do you want to kick us off with Mangrove?
Mangrove is a Steve McQueen movie, if you haven't heard yet. The IMDb summary is Mangrove tells this true story of the Mangrove Nine, who clashed with London police in 1970. The trial that followed was the first judicial acknowledgement. Hang on. Okay, I'm not actually gonna say that because that's kind of a spoiler. I'm just gonna say, and it's about the trial that followed, because the rest of that IMDb summary kind of spoils the ending to the movie. I guess like what I'd say about the movie, it's an absolute honor to watch a Steve McQueen movie. He has such a deft hand and is so knowledgeable and incredible at his craft. And I'm just, every time I watch a movie of his, I'm utterly blown away at the way he tells stories and what he does visually with the camera, with people's faces. And I mean, I could kind of gush over Steve McQueen for a while, but this movie, Mangrove, the story just unfolds in such an interesting way. And I really appreciated how much time and care was dedicated to establishing the world and establishing the Mangrove as an entity and like what it meant to the community and like kind of what the Mangrove was and then like how it slowly like starts to change into being a place that was under attack and it was under assault by the police. And it was just super effective storytelling in that those early scenes. And then, the build up to the protests and the confrontation with the police in the protests. And then I don't think I knew what the movie was or even about the trial. I didn't know it was going to be like a courtroom drama.
Yeah. I'd never heard. I didn't know the story at all either.
Yeah, I didn't do any research on it. And so and then when it kind of made that turn to being a courtroom drama, like we kind of went over this in Trial of the Chicago 7, that like courtroom dramas are just absolutely riveting. And like, totally unfair to compare it to the Trial of the Chicago 7, but like this is what you get when you have a really good director working with that kind of material. And the way he shoots those courtroom scenes with just like, especially when like they were questioning what's the word, questioning the witness up on the stand and like all the little cuts to like the scratching of the table and like the close-ups and the way he shoots these really intense kind of standoffs in this courtroom is pretty brilliant.
I mean, you mentioned the Trial of Chicago 7 before, and I know you said like we shouldn't compare it, but like,
let's
it's
compare
hard not
it.
to because they came
let's
out
compare
so
it.
they
We
came out
shouldn't
so
compare
close
it, but
together, and
let's compare it.
The thing was like, I mean, I think there's two big comparisons to make, but like one of the big criticisms of the Chicago 7 was that it was like such a Hollywood movie. Like it didn't feel like a real court case because it was so exaggerated to make the movie feel bigger. And this was like a real court case. This was like legitimate, like tension, and it felt very real and authentic.
Mm-hmm. And whereas like
trite
big
seems like a good word to describe Trial of Chicago 7.
Yeah. And like, so an example is like, whereas Trial of Chicago 7, the ending, it like pulls out as Eddie Redmayne's doing his final thing. And there's the hammering of the gavel and, pulls out and it's big and grandiose in Hollywood. Whereas this one, it just like a slow push in onto the main character's face. And like, it's this movie was just so much more powerful. And I know we shouldn't compare, but like,
oh god, that ending shot.
That ending shot like almost destroyed me. And it's just you shouldn't compare, but I think there's value to comparing them just in how good this movie is. Not even like saying anything bad about Chicago 7. Like it's just we're dealing with a director who's just kind of on another level in the industry right now.
I think that's the fun. That's the fun in comparing them, I guess. Is like, Chicago 7 was Sorkin's like second director, and this is like a master doing a similar thing, and like kind of showing. It's a fun comparison to be able to see like the difference in like craft and how much of a difference that makes, like subtlety and the thing that's interesting about Steve McQueen, I think, is I was trying to like pinpoint like what I think of when I think of a Steve McQueen movie. Like what is it about him that like you can kind of like that makes you feel like it's a Steve McQueen movie, or like what makes him different? And I think it's that he's able to take like really realistic things and show them in a very realistic way, but without ever sacrificing like his artistic integrity, and he's like show offy without being flashy. Like you can tell he's like,
so good.
Yeah, like he's just like, what you're seeing is like better than everything else, but he's not like in your face about it. It's just like,
true.
He's just
but it's all
doing it.
It's all to serve the story. It's not like,
yeah,
it's not an indie filmmaker who's trying to change the world of cinema. He's just, yeah.
Well, and all the actors in this movie are incredible too. Like,
yeah.
I think that was another thing I wanted to compare with the Trial of Chicago 7. Like Sorkin has his like dialogue that he can really kind of carry. He can drive a movie with his dialogue, but this movie like really focuses on just these performances, like carry everything. Like they don't have to say a whole bunch, because they just, they show it and they emit all that energy and emotion so well. And
there's some really good performances in this movie that blew me away. I think the guy who gives the speech in the court, it's not the lead, it's one of the side characters. I'm looking at it's Malachi Kirby, I think. Yeah, and like his performance in this movie like really stood out to me. And there's even, Sean, you mentioned this in person. We got to talk about like the scene.
It's Letitia Wright, the Shuri from
Letitia Wright was like
Black Panther. That scene was remarkable. When the main character kind of says that he's thinking about taking a plea bargain or what, I forget what he was doing.
Similar to a plea bargain.
Yeah, something like that. And just, essentially giving up and saying, I can't go to prison. I'm not going to go to prison for this. And like her speech is so powerful and so moving. And like that performance is just like the strength of her character, yet the fact that she has that moment of breaking down, and like it's absolutely remarkable.
Does it in this oner.
Yeah,
that's
for sure.
Really perfect for the moment. And panning back and forth between their faces is really skillfully done.
Yeah, absolutely.
One thing that you mentioned the main character and how he was like thinking about giving up on the court case. By the way, he's played by Sean Parks, who's been around Hollywood, but I've never seen him in like a lead role like this. And I thought one thing that was like super interesting about his character is that, he opened this restaurant, the Mangrove, and it became like a cultural spot, like a outlet for his community. But he never wanted to be like a cultural hero. He never wanted to be like, the guy that
just
people
like running
to.
A business.
Yeah, he just wanted to like have his restaurant, and like serve the food from back home. And then the cops are like, you gotta serve cheeseburgers or whatever. And he was like, no, come on, I'm just trying to run my restaurant.
So simple.
Please let me run my restaurant. Yeah, and it's like it's so unjust. And it's like, that speech that Letitia Wright's character gave that you guys are talking about was like, so just sometimes you have to step up, and sometimes you have to like be that person, and just it was just told in such a wonderful way. Yeah, I mean, Steve McQueen is something else, guys. I mean, he really is on another level.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like Derek, what you said before about how he like shows off, but it's not showy. It's like he does these things that are so specific and powerful and real, but like they're also just like movie things.
Yeah. And you don't even really realize it in the moment. And you don't realize how it's affecting you in the moment until like, I don't know, every once in a while I would have like this, I'd be so into a scene or this shot and like, it's just so moving. And then I would kind of snap out of it a little bit and kind of realize what he's doing and how he's doing it. And it was just like, wow.
Yeah.
We're also really glad we all got to watch Hunger together recently. That you guys hadn't seen that before.
Mm-hmm.
And then with Widows and this, it's like we've seen a lot of Steve McQueen recently, and I hope he keeps going.
Mm-hmm.
He's so young.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm sure he will.
Yeah, I'm sure he will.
One more thing I wanted to point out is I think Education was kind of a bit autobiographical. I was actually reading his Wikipedia page, and it sounds like he kind of grew up with dyslexia, and his school system kind of gave up on him and threw him over to this other school that was for blue collar workers. And
well, they called it like what was the term in the movie? It was like less than normal, or something, like something pretty offensive. It was it's basically a school for like disabled kids, but like back then it was like, and there were no supports or guidelines for teaching disabled people, and it was just a place, like a
babysitting
place.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
if that.
Yeah. But good call on that. Do you want to switch over to Lovers Rock, Brandon's book?
Let's give it a go. So my favorite of the anthology was Lovers Rock. I would think most of you guys gave it second as well, but the IMDb synopsis is: a single evening at a house party in 1980s West London set the scene, developing intertwined relationships against a background of violence, romance, and music. It's a really simple storyline. Like this, not much happens in this movie. It all takes place in one night or one day, from beginning to end. A weird thing that happened with me is the movie I watched like right before this one is a film called Bloody Nose, Empty Pockets. And it's super similar to this. And I watched that like the night before. While that movie takes place in one night in the diviest of dive bars in Las Vegas, and just the drunk inhabitants there, and a very realistic take of what that is. This movie, like I just said, takes place in the 1980s in West London, and in one night at a party. It is like so unique and special to me of a film to see, like, that we just haven't seen anything like this before. It's such a like brilliant concept to stage like this hour and 10-minute film around. It's just people like partying and dancing and being sexual and fighting, not really with like an overall purpose, but just so you can like be with them and experience this like joyous night with these people. That's like just that as an idea for a film is really exciting.
Yeah, I feel like it's really powerful to say that this type of thing, like these house parties, are kind of equally important to this culture as like the music, the people, the way that they interact, the way that they have fun, and the way that they just be people is equally as important as these like heavy drama, courtroom dramas, and like more darker ideas.
I don't really know, but I'm guessing they didn't have many other places to do these specific things and listen to this specific music and eat this kind of food besides throwing an event like this. You know, there's no place out that they could really accomplish this type of thing. So it was really cool, like stepping into that world for this hour. And I loved that. The one thing that I noticed Steve McQueen always does, and he did in a Mangrove and his previous films, he does these like very specific oneers. He has long shots throughout all his films, but he does these like long shots, like usually once per film, that hang for too long and make you like either uncomfortable or make you see something you didn't see before, like whether it's the janitor like wiping up the piss in Hunger, or the like slave hanging as people like walk by and barely even notice in 12 Years a Slave. You know, Mangrove had that really great shot of when the raid is happening on the Mangrove. In the basement, it just lets you see this pot like, you know, rolling around on the floor, and it just doesn't cut, and it just leaves you thinking about what you just saw and what just happened. And there's like this great take when the music is happening in this movie that goes on for so much longer than you think it's going to be. And you just like are living with these people, like celebrating the night. And it's
you
really
talking
beautiful.
about the shot where the music dies out and everyone keeps singing? Yeah, that was a really powerful scene.
Really,
and it went on for way too long, but like perfectly
almost
too
to the
long.
point where I don't think anyone planned for it to go on that long. They're like, I don't know. They just kept singing that line over and over again. I don't think Steve McQueen was probably just in the back, like, we'll just see what happens.
Yeah, totally.
And it just worked so well.
And I love how he even set that up a little bit earlier with the women who are in the kitchen cooking.
Yes, that same song, and they go to that
they were
high
singing
register.
That same song, yeah.
It's almost a joke, like was, you know, if you can hit that note to all the people, like inside joke to all of them.
It's like it totally reminds me of like hanging out and singing like Bohemian Rhapsody and just like
this,
you know, trying to do what Freddie Mercury's doing with his voice, and that was a brilliant sequence.
It's cool. Like thinking back at this film a few days later, like this movie seems way longer than it actually was to me. Like it feels like such a full experience from beginning to end, and all the rich characters that you got to see in this house party. And then you think about it, it's like an hour and 7 minutes. Like what? There's just so much here, and it's so rich and dense.
And you just get small impressions of all these of so many characters, but they're really complex impressions of them. And like from the bouncer who like really doesn't do anything throughout the movie, there's no arc or plot to speak of that he's involved in, but like you kind of feel like you kind of know him, like him and the cousin who comes in and starts causing trouble. And the friend, her best friend who like leaves maybe less than halfway through the movie.
She just wanted to hang out with her buddy.
Yeah.
I thought the ending was incredible when she, her mom's just like, let's wake up for church, like screaming at her, pounds on the door.
I knew you would love that ending, Brandon. Like I knew like that was like, just that cut was really
good.
And, I loved how this movie was like one complete experience, like how it started with them cooking and it had the whole party from all different angles. And then the next morning and, you get that really like sexy like moment between them. Those two, they're sneaking off and you could just like feel the energy between them. And then, I also like really appreciate though that like the movie's mostly like really, really fun. It's mostly just about the party, but there is like this like subtext of, I don't want to say like almost like something ominous, like something could happen, and spoilers, like nothing bad really does happen, but like there is that part where like they're on the bus and you see outside like the guy carrying a big cross, when you're like just that alone, especially after just watching Mangrove, you're like, like what's that about, and you see him later on at the end, like he's came back, like they see him again, but again, nothing really bad happens, but like it's there, and they're like cops outside the party, and you get the sense that this
A girl gets raped.
almost, but you get the sense that this party is like an oasis for them.
Definitely.
It's like a safe place.
And like even where
you
it's
drift too far away, there's like the little hoodlum.
Yeah, definitely. Like that's what Brandon was saying. Like this is probably the only, like this is a safe space for the community where they can express
like even
themselves.
when
But like right on the right on the other side, it's like it's there's trouble just waiting for them as soon as they leave. Like when she goes out after her friend, like as soon as she goes out there, there's people almost waiting for her. And then like I think when the cousin is first trying to get in, like to get past the bouncer and causing trouble, and like do cops drive by or
They're
something?
just
Does
driving,
a cop car drive by?
driving by, slowing down for a second, and he pulls him in instead of throwing him out. Like just like it's safer in here, even though you're
right
kind of
on the other
being
side
shitty.
of that door. There's a world of trouble waiting for them, but in here, it's like I mean, a woman almost gets raped, but it's a kind of a safe communal space but even then, like, that almost happens, but like, there's someone there looking out for her. There's people, it's a community that is largely looking out for each other. And, I loved that, like that subtext of it. Whereas like on the surface, it was just kind of a fun party night. Whereas there's so much more depth to this movie.
Steve McQueen has, Sean, you were talking about him like scratching the table during his interrogation in the courtroom and stuff. Like, he has so many of those, like in Lover's Rock as well. Like I remember the beads of sweat like dripping down the wall, and you're just like, what am I looking at? Oh, perspiration! Holy shit! Like these people are so into dancing, and there's a lot of this through the movie. There's the shot. I think it's in all the posters of them on the bike riding, and it's like the most anti-framed thing. You don't even see the bike. There's like floating through the air, like with the trees above them, just like so serene looking. He just like places the camera in like the best positions.
Yeah, for sure.
A really unique way to tell a story. This whole movie was. I like that you're like said it's like kind of a hangout movie, and it's a, at least for me, it was a really casual movie to watch too. Like especially with like it has that music is playing like really loud pretty much the entire movie. Like I have like the beat is like playing in my head right now, because it's like
I was literally moving for a lot of this movie.
Yeah, like I was literally like you just feel like you're hanging out with them. Like the camera's like right there in the crowd, and like
the music's great. I mean, you could turn this movie on and have it be your party.
Right. The anthology. Sure. I wanted to say that like the tracks throughout all 5 of these films are very specific, and you can tell he like has a really big passion for choosing his soundtrack, like Quentin Tarantino-esque type stuff.
Yeah
For real. So I mean, it's great. I mean, it was definitely the most fun of all the Small Axe ones too. I mean, I was telling a friend earlier before we got on that Lover's Rock is the one where it's not like, it's not super serious. I mentioned the ominous thing, but I feel like this one, Lover's Rock, is the one where it's mostly just a good time. But I mean, again, I feel like all these movies really capture that essence, though, of the small axe cutting down the tree or whatever. It's
carving
it's the
out
small
their
community,
out their space, their piece of the pie.
Yeah. So I don't know. Do you guys have anything else to add to the Small Axe or Lover's Rock?
That was a good convo.
Yeah.
Bit.
Yeah, for sure. We're a little short on this episode. Do we want to expand it to anyone want to say anything about the other movies?
I was gonna say it's kind of Nick. You mentioned like the ominous stuff, and after watching Mangrove and following this movie, I guess I didn't realize the order. Is Mangrove the first episode? Because I definitely watched this one first. Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But I
Is it
still
not
got
explicit
that.
on Amazon Prime.
It might be, but I think I just like.
Went straight to it.
I think I kind of thought like I had heard better reviews for Mangrove, and so I wanted to save it for after. Not really thinking that there was a order of any sort.
Yeah, I think he put time into where to place all these movies, and it definitely makes sense, the flow.
Definitely. What is there? Is there any kind of time chronological aspect to that?
I was
they,
thinking that
like
up
when it takes
until
place?
like the first three definitely are like sequential. I believe it's like 60s, 70s, 80s kind of feeling to it. But then after that, it's no longer. So
Okay.
Well, the thing about Alex Wheatle, which also, by the way, he is a real person. He's a novelist. So that was kind of a biopic about him. Alex Wheatle, goes through different like we were talking about earlier. He goes through these different kind of themes a little bit, and they meant during Lovers Rock. I think they mention Alex Wheatle's like band. Like I feel like I hear them like shouting for it, or like wanting them to play. Like they're like chanting the name of his band.
okay,
And then Alex Wheatle then is like he gets arrested for his role in like the revolution that's coming in the next phase of it all. So I don't know about the timeline at all about these movies, but it does make me feel like I don't know enough about this culture. I don't know enough about the history, and there's no movies about this. Like, to me, like, this is such a unique experience because there aren't movies about this subject matter. And it's an example for me where like the subject is so specific, but also that makes it universal. Like there's so much like, themes of racism and police brutality, and these things are extremely specific, but like they're all things that are related to today and other movies as well. So it's pretty important. The whole Small Axe thing feels extremely important.
what'd you guys think about when they referenced Star Wars to John Boyega?
Yeah, what did he say? He needs to walk like a or no,
Jedi,
that's
the Force,
No,
that was Alex
I wanna join
Wheatle,
the
wasn't
Force.
it?
He's like, what do you want to be what do you want to
a
be?
Jedi.
Jedi? Yeah. That was
I
was
think
Red, White, and Blue.
yeah, I think
That
they
was Tom
mention it
Boyega.
in Alex Wheatle too, like when he's teaching him how to walk, like his friend is teaching him how to walk like he should in the neighborhood, and he says you have to walk like a Jedi or something. Doesn't he? Am I crazy? I just watched that today.
I don't remember.
I don't remember
morning.
that, but maybe.
Anyway, I think that we can wrap it up though. I think that it's safe to say that we all seriously encourage
For
the Small Axe experience.
for sure.
Watch all 5 movies. It's worth
Yeah.
it. Derek, including you, man.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Shame.
And yeah, I mean, I might break my personal rule, and like I saw someone on Letterboxd rank Steve McQueen, and they had the Small Axe as like a whole series in there and all 5 movies. And for whatever reason, like that makes sense to me. Like I feel like it is a complete work of art, and there's also 5 movies. So, we can talk about when we do our top 10s, but I'm curious how you guys are going to do that, if you'll just include one or all 5 or none at all. But anyway, so that's going to wrap up this episode real quick. Let's go over what movies we're going to talk about the next episode. So real quick, Brandon, what movie did you pick for our next episode?
I'm picking this film, The Sound of Metal, which I really actually didn't even know it was coming out or what it was all about, but Slash Film, 2 of them gave it number 1 and the other gave it number 2, and that just blew me away. It has Riz Ahmed in it, and it sounds like a fascinating storyline, and there's hopefully some good drumming in it.
Totally. Sean, what movie are you picking?
I'm gonna do Nomadland, the Frances McDormand movie. Yeah, it just looks super interesting. I've intentionally know very little about it, but it kind of, from the very little I've seen, it kind of reminds me a little bit of Into the Wild type thing, like just someone traveling around the country, meeting people, hanging out, having big thoughts.
Yeah.
So
It's a
This
very
movie's
new
getting
director.
Crazy good reviews.
yeah,
Yeah. Crazy good reviews, and it's yeah. I'm with you. I barely know anything about it,
yeah.
but crazy good reviews.
Where do we watch it? I was just looking it up before.
I think it's gonna be on Hulu.
Okay. Cool.
Yes.
Derek, what about you?
I'm choosing Minari. And
I thought you were choosing the Tom Hanks.
Yeah.
The Tom Hanks movie.
yeah. Well, kind of, I'm gonna watch that movie too. So if people want to check it out, News of the World, directed by Paul Greengrass. But Minari seems to be one of the highest reviewed movies of the year, and it's been kind of built up for a while now. And
It won top honor at Sundance Film Festival.
Sundance.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. I mean, that movie's supposed to be great, for sure. And I'm choosing Promising Young Woman. I don't know too much about this movie other than like the cast. It's like Carey Mulligan and Bo Burnham and Alison Brie, and apparently it like really juggles tones. Like there are elements of horror movie in it, and I've just heard like a lot of great things from people who I respect. So I'm really eager to watch this movie.
Bo Burnham? What?
Yeah, Bo Burnham's in it. Yeah.
Awesome.
Oh yeah.
So
I did see that.
That's great.
Yeah. So I mean, I think this movie, some people hate it, but a lot of people love it. So I think it's gonna be one of those movies that's like not gonna hit for everybody. But I'm really eager for the experience of it. So, Promising Young Woman. So with that, I think we're gonna wrap up this episode. So thanks for listening, everyone, and keep watching. Bye-bye.
See ya.
Bye. See you.